Hey everybody, it's Ashley. Now it's time to dig into the pre-kindergarten assessment and portfolio packet. This packet has been updated to a play-based version. You'll find that many of the assessment tools are not drill and answer session, but they're opportunities for us to see what our littlest students know through activities, games, observations. I really wanted this to be something that you could take and use in your classroom pretty flawlessly, and I really want to walk you through it so that you can see all the parts, and I can kind of explain how it is working in my classroom. So if you're ready to dig in, let's go. I made this nifty little graphic here to explain how the parts of this packet come together. Kind of think of it like a bird's eye view. We're going to start at the core of the assessment packet, which are the early learning goals. And we talked about that in the module before this, and we talked about how to line these up with our state standards and your state goals. So your early learning goals are really at the core of what we assess and what we instruct. So here's another nifty little graphic that I made for you. This just kind of gives you another bird's eye view of the areas that are included in the early learning goals. Again, I'm not going to go real deep into this since we just did this in the module before this. So, all right, moving right along. Now I'd like to take a look at the recording sheet and the reading readiness sheet. These are for teacher use. They're going to help you collect data, show what students know, organize that data. Let's first take a look at the recording sheet, the one on the left. I like to assess 3 times a year. We go to school from September to May, and so it made sense for me to do that assessment September, January, May. If you go to school from, let's say, August to June, your assessment periods might look a little bit different. But with the new edible assessment packet that I have coming to you, and then I'm going to explain use tomorrow, you'll be able to change those around and make those fit for you. On the right side is their reading readiness assessment. And I really found, and it's more of a checklist, I really found that in literacy and language arts and pre-reading that there were so many different skills that I wanted to look for and I wanted to observe that they wouldn't just all go on the recording sheet. And so I made a special checklist that helps me go through. And these aren't all things that I'm expecting my children to know by the end of the year, but they are things that we are working towards because I know these things are important for them to have before they can be successful readers. So that is basically what that is. It's just a checklist. Am I seeing these things? How can I bring some awareness to things like rhyming or letters versus words if my students aren't there yet? In the packet, you will also find some very detailed instructions for the recording sheet and the reading readiness sheets. These instructions will give you pretty much everything you need to help you guide through these. Each skill is listed on the instructions, and the main goal, is linked back to the early learning goals. And it also will tell you which assessment, activity, game, observation that you can do with your students or one-on-one with a student to see what they know and where you can record that. We are going to get deeper into that actually just in a second. Okay, let's take a look in the orange circle. Here is where we're going to find the assessment activities, games, and observations. These are the how and how you're going to find out what skills your students know. You're going to find that these assessment tools will help you assess in a play-based classroom because many of the tools are done through games, hands-on activities, or just pure observations. The assessment activities, games, and observations are directly correlated to the early learning goals, and you will record the results of what you learn about the student and the skill on the recording sheet or the reading readiness sheet. These observations, games, and activities also become part of the portfolio documents that you can share with parents. So you're kind of killing two birds with one stone right there. Now I'd like to take some time to look at the assessment activities. We're going to go to the assessment instructions and we're going to look at a specific skill, which is name formation. The goal on the early learning goals is knowledge of self and writing. To assess the name formation on the This Is Me portfolio page, students draw a picture of themselves in the large box and write their name in the box below. Can student write name correctly? First letter uppercase, the rest lower. record yes or not yet. So let's take a look at what that assessment might look like. There it is. This is me. And you're going to see down below, this is where they're going to write their name. And this is where we're going to see if they are able to form their name yet or not. Then you're going to take that information, go to the recording sheet, look under September, name formation, and circle yes if they're able to, which the student, I guess, was. So there is one example of an assessment activity. Now let's move on and take a look at an assessment game. So we're going to go to the instructions again, and we're going to look at a specific skill, one-to-one correspondence. So the goal is count with one-to-one correspondence. You're going to use one of the path games included to assess to see if the student can move spaces on the game board with one-to-one correspondence. To play, students roll a die and move their mover. You can use a small toy, manipulatives, erasers, pennies for that mover, and see if they can move it that many spaces. If the student can count with one-to-one correspondence, mark yes. If the student skips a lot of spaces or counts too quickly, mark not yet. There is a note section below for any notes that you need to make on the recording sheet. So let's see if we can take a look at what that path game might look like. Okay, in this path game, we are going to help the spaceship get to the moon. So students are going to roll a die and move that many spaces on the path game to try to get to the moon. And we are going to look to see if they are able to do that without skipping spaces or miscounting. And so then we're going to take that and we are going to go to the recording sheet and look under September and one-to-one correspondence. And if they are able to do that, we're going to mark yes. And you can see the notes section down below to make any notes that were needed. Okay, to conclude, we're going to talk about the last assessment tool, which is observations. And some skills do not lend themselves well to work samples or photographs. Some of them are purely oral, like reciting the alphabet or counting. So we're going to look at counting right now. And the goal is rote counting. So we're going to ask students to count aloud as far as they can, and we're going to record where they messed up or where they stopped. We can also make notes about where maybe they had a misstep. Maybe they jumped from 13 to 15. So here is an observation form that I have included. It's just a half sheet. Cut it in half, put it on a small clipboard. It can be there for whenever you need it. There's a place for student name, date, if they were in a center, what environment you were in, what materials they may have been using, and then the observation. And here's where you're going to state what you see. The student was able to count to 14, skipped 15, went to 19, whatever observation you need to make. So then you're going to take that and put that on the recording sheet. Or you can use a portfolio page like this one. And we're going to get more into portfolios on day 4, but this is also a place that you can record it. It can be there and it will be ready for parents as well in the portfolio. So after you do that, we are going to go and you can take it to your recording sheet. So you go look for September, counts to ones. If they were able to count to, let's say, 13, that's what you're going to write in there. And so then you can easily see the progression over the 3 testing periods. We're going to take a little break here. Tomorrow is going to be all about editing your recording sheet. So if you do have different testing time periods or different skills that you need to add or subtract from the recording sheet, we're going to go over how to do that. And then day 4 is going to be all about portfolios. We're going to talk about what portfolios are and are not, and we're going to talk about using templates to kind of tackle that large beast of portfolios. We're going to talk about how to put it all together. Also, little side note, I know that some of you may be familiar with my pre-K assessment and portfolio packet before the editable play-based version, and it included a parent report, and that is no longer something you will find in this packet. My reasoning is because I really wanted to be able to report to parents more than just some statistics on a paper. I really wanted to show their child in a whole child light. I also wanted a chance to be able to sit down and talk to them about what is in their portfolio, rather than just handing them a report card and saying, here's where they are. I really want them to be able to see the progress that they've made in that year or months or however often you want to look at it. And in my classroom, portfolios are open to parent viewing whenever they would like. So if you're wondering where that parent report is and you're not very happy with me that it's not in there, I apologize, but I really do want you to try to kind of go down this road of reporting what students know in a different light. So, with that, I will see you tomorrow when we talk about editing your recording sheet. Okay, thanks, you guys. Bye.